Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, the 23rd of June. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about the US has waived Iranian oil sanctions, and Trump has said he will do what he has to if Tehran misbehaves. Romania's nominated Prime Minister has failed a confidence vote in Parliament, which is deepening their political crisis. And Keir Starmer quit, and Britain is in a bit of a shit state right now. So we'll talk a bit about that, even though we talked about it yesterday. So firstly, the US Treasury has announced a 60-day sanctions waiver until August 21st, allowing for Iran to sell oil and receive payments for it, following talks in Switzerland where both sides agreed to a roadmap towards a permanent deal. Iran has denied that the discussions of its nuclear program had begun, with Trump warning that he would do what he has to do if Tehran failed to hold up its end of the agreement. So what? This change is going to be a huge boost to Iran's economy and likely a sign of what's to come in the negotiations going forward. While I think Iran has made a lot of promises to the US, I think it's likely that they will use at least some of this money to support their regional proxy forces and other military assets, as they clearly paid off big time when it came to this conflict. I think it's also possible that they could begin to use some of this money to kind of try and repair their nuclear facilities, possibly not towards enrichment, but, maybe moving in that direction pretty subtly, as I don't think they're going to give up their goals for a nuclear weapon despite what's being said. And next, Romania's Prime Minister designate, Andrean Vesta, has failed his parliamentary confidence vote on June the 22nd, receiving only 189 of the 233 votes he needed after a far-right party declined to back him. The president candidate must now nominate a new candidate, with early elections possible if two of the delegates fail within 60 days. So what? It seems likely that Romania is going to go back to the polls early, to be completely honest. While the PM is clearly unpopular, it's also likely that Russian info operations are working hard in the country to try and destabilize what's going on. Former Soviet Union countries are seen as a pretty high priority target for these grey zone operations, as they're a bit more susceptible to these Russian info operations. We've talked about this a lot in the past and over on my other channel, so if you want to learn more about them, go check it out. But it's a pretty interesting way of doing business, and it's clearly having some effect. I think social media is amplifying this significantly. And lastly, Prime Minister Keir Starmer resigned on June the 22nd and is set to become the UK's sixth Prime Minister in 7 years to leave. He faced historically low approval ratings and mounting internal pressure after heavy losses to reform. A former Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, is widely expected to succeed him. So what? This isn't a huge surprise. It's something we talked about yesterday as quite a high likelihood, and I think it's unlikely to change much, really. The Labour Party is still the Labour Party. Their policies are still pretty similar. It's not really going to be a huge swing in policies, I think. But saying that, something huge does need to change for the Labour Party if they want to have any hopes in going up against reform in the next general election, which I believe is happening in a few years. So, maybe they'll try something crazy because they need to do something. Currently, they're getting absolutely smashed in the polls by reform, and it seems likely that they're going to be a significant party in the next general election, edging out the Conservatives by a significant margin at this point. But anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you!